Good evening, y'all. So, wow, Greenhorn Trucker Vlog 9. So, made it to my first drop in Utah. It's actually a little town by Ogden. It's called Far West. So, it's just a grocer distributor. Pretty big place. They have one section that's for frozen food. It was kind of nice because they got a big sign when I pulled up and a phone number. So I called the phone number and they said, yeah, what time's your appointment? I said 8 o'clock. They said, okay, show up at the gate at 7:45. I'm like, okay. So there's plenty of parking out there on the street. I hung around for about an hour and a half, watched some TV on my phone, and headed on over there. 7:45, and there's like a phone booth there and a phone. Picked it up and gave them my PO number and my truck number and the company I work for, and they said, okay, there's a map right in front of you. And I look and they say, see that little X on the right hand corner of the building? Yep, drive over there. Give me the code for the door, said go inside and take your paperwork in. I walked in there, lady gave me my door assignment, busted the seal on my doors, took the padlock off, opened the doors, backed it up to the dock, and she just said, the lumpers will open up, they'll look in the back, estimate what the load is going to be to unload it, and then come out here and talk to me, and then I'll make some form of payment. And hopefully they'll take a credit card, because the last place I went would only take cash. So, and the other places would take a credit card. So far there's one place, but one thing I'm going to have to do from now on when I go on my trip is I'm going to probably get a little small lock box and lock it inside, put a chain on it and chain it around something in my tool crib on the side there, my little safety compartment, and keep cash in there, like a few $100s. It'll just have to be part of the operations of the truck, because you never know, what they're going to do. So anyway, I'm sitting here waiting. So what happened today? Well, let's see. I slept a while and I got up and I got to heading this way again, and I got into Wyoming and went through the scales and got pulled in and grabbed my paperwork and went in there, and all he wanted to see was my registration and my permits for driving in the state. And really, that was it. That was pretty painless. So I ran out and jumped in my truck and took off. And then I crossed the border into Utah. And at the port, when you come in, I drove across the scales. They gave me a red light. I parked my paperwork in. And they go, how are you doing? I say, well, I'm not sure. And they said, oh, well, go ahead and drive your truck through the scale again and watch for what the sign. They'll give you instructions. And I'm like, okay. Because I just drove over slow, like 10 miles per hour, like always, right? Wait, and the only thing I was watching for was a green light or a red light, And this one's different. It only weighs one axle at a time. So when I pulled up on it, it said stop, front axle on, stop on the scale. So I stopped, wait for it to balance out, then drive my drive axle on, and then my trailer axle, and then the sign came on and said return to highway. I was out of there. So luckily my weights were on, and I was kind of sketchy about that because, man, at the place I loaded up, the scale kept like tweaking out and getting error codes and stuff. I don't know what I was doing wrong. Drove over that damn thing about 3 times. The same kind of thing though, like you drive your front wheels on, and then it gives you a weight, and then you drive your drives on, so now your drive axle and your front wheels on, and then you drive and get your gross weight for the entire weight, and then you got to do the math to figure it out. So, and my front axle was like really close, and I just fueled up before I went to the scale, and I was kind of worried about being over. I feel my truck bouncing around, so they're back there doing something. Now hopefully they're gonna probably have to pull some stuff off to see what the estimated cost is going to be. But anyway, they're supposed to come tell me what the cost is, and they'll bring my paperwork out to me after I pay them. So I don't have to go back in, which is kind of cool. So, like, now here's the dilemma. The logbooks. So I've already been here at this facility and outside waiting about 4 hours time. So here's where the logbook thing gets sketchy. So I can drive the 9 miles and put myself down as driving, you know, and get over there to the place and then take it off, put it on a sleeper berth, because I've already got 4 hours on there. That means in 6 hours I start a new day and I can take off and head for home. Won't be able to do that once electronic logs are all plugged in for everybody, and that's the stuff they're trying to knock off, make sure everybody gets plenty of rest. But here's the thing, 6 hours sleep, I always wake up after 6 hours sleep. It doesn't matter, I do. And so I'm just sitting around waiting for the clock. And then what I'll do is I'll drive like 2, 3, 4 hours, and I'll pull over to a rest area and I'll sleep for a couple hours. Then jump up and have some coffee and a bite to eat and take off for another 3 or 4 hours. I drive most alert that way, you know, and rather than, you know, been here 4 hours, now I got to go somewhere and set it out for 10 hours, or I can drive for 4 hours now. I still got 4 hours on the clock I can drive, but then I'm down for 10 whole hours somewhere, stuck somewhere. And right now I'm kind of tired, so if I drive now for 4 hours, I'm going to get dozy after a couple hours, you know what I mean? And so your driving clock does stop when you go sleeper berth, but your time clock for how many hours you're allowed to work during a day doesn't stop. I got around 6 hours on that. So technically I could go drive for a couple hours, just crash for a couple hours and get up and drive for a couple more hours and then be stuck for 10 hours. I'd rather just get on over to the truck stop and because it's only 9 miles away, you know, and then backtrack and say sleeper berth that whole 4 hours, stay at the truck stop another 6 hours, and then take off. And I got 10 hours I can drive. Anyway, that's what I'm going to do. It's not legal, but there it is. Anyway, talk to you later. Peace.